Patrick, how you doing?
How you doing?
I almost wore the exact same color suit. So
I have to catch up.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
How you doing, man?
Very good. Nice to meet you.
Vincent, nice to meet you,
Hey, very nice to meet you, Vincent. How are you?
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Good. Amazing. Hey, Andrew. I found these two guys outside. They said they want to talk to you.
What's happening? Welcome to How you doing? Good to see you. Very good to see you. Sir? Good to see you. Good to see you, bro. Good to see you.
We went to a restaurant yesterday. We asked the waiter. We're like, so what do you know about this restaurant? It's a very good restaurant. Do you know a guy named Andrew Tate? Yeah, he sat right in his chair. Yeah. He ate right here.
Yeah.
What's the name of the place?
Casa de Davis.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
They know
Phenomenal.
us very well, though.
And I lost on points. You can see in the second round I hit him, he goes down, but my hand's broken and he gets up.
Okay.
And for the rest of the fight, I'm trying to hit him and it just didn't work. I didn't understand why. My hand was broken, so they ordered a rematch of that. I beat him and won the world title.
So both belts, you had a rematch and you beat him.
And yeah, for the first two.
Yeah.
So the second one, I lost on points, but I broke my hand. I fought him again, and I have the video of that because I broke my hand again. He must have the hardest head in the world. I broke my hand again in the second fight.
Same guy?
What gloves are you wearing?
And you can see the scars.
I still want to fight. I'm always going to want to fight forever, but you have to know when.
It's a different kind of fights now.
Yeah.
Still a fight.
Yeah, well,
Different kind of
that's
fights.
right.
We're at war again.
People said to me, "How's it feel when you're retired?" I was like, "I don't feel like I've retired from fighting."
You just fight in a different way.
You're fighting still going on.
Yeah, tell me about it. Oh, the old word. Like I use perspicacious a lot. Indefatigable, I use a lot. I have favorite words I use.
Compendious is one of your favorite words.
Compendious is another word I like to use.
What is that? What is that?
Compendious means presenting information in a concise way.
Oh, wow.
Compendious.
So I'll often say like I'm a professional. I'm particularly compendious and I'm concise.
Gotcha.
I'll say that I'm a professional. I'm particularly compendious and I'm concise, and then I'll make my point. So regardless of what the point is, before I've made the point, I sound like a genius.
Right.
Andrew, do you have like a where are you picking these 5 words from? You're just going in the dictionary and just going.
There's a bunch of free email lists you can go get from dictionary.com that give you word of the day.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Your plate, I'm going to put the meat.
Even on Patrick's Twitter status, he said, describe the Matrix in one word. And I said, beguilement, the word I chose. And that was a word I learned only a week ago.
A week. That was a perfect. Just put it right there.
Beguilement means to amuse or distract away from wickedness toward danger.
Mic check, Adam. Adam here with Patrick and Andrew and Matthew. You just look like a British producer. If I like, I don't even know what you do, but it just. Yeah. I'll take it. Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
You know, in business, I asked this question the other day. I'm so curious to get your thoughts on this. For the longest time, when I got into business, I was, a younger guy, 21. I'm like, okay, very coachable. Tell me, what do I got to do? I'm a coachable guy. What do I got to do? I'm a coachable guy, super coachable. I want to make money. I'm sick and tired of being broke. My dad's at the 99 cents. Too many heart attacks. I want to get out of this. Yep. So I'm like, hey, Patrick, basic stuff. When you're doing business, when you're talking to rich people, I'm Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. Never talk religion, never talk politics, never talk sex. Just don't talk about those 3 things. I said, okay, guess what? Never talk politics, never talk religion, never talk sex. No problem. We're going to business. So what do you think about the political climate today, Patrick, David? Yeah. Oh, what do you think? Yeah. Well, I think this is, but what do you think, Patrick? I don't know, quite frankly, I think I'm trying to figure it out for myself right now, but we'll see what's going to happen. Like, whatever way you're deflecting and you kind of go on your phone. Hey, what do you think about God? What is your opinion on Islam or Muslim? Yeah. Well, for me, you deflect that. Eventually you're sitting there, you're like, the people that I know at that level want to talk about those three topics.
Yep.
Now, sex is maybe off camera and they're kind of having fun with it, but they want to talk about politics and religion.
Yep.
So we, for the longest time, have been silenced, and now the ESG community, all this time they've told us to stay quiet, and they're saying what? They're talking politics, they're talking religion, and they're talking sex. Sex the way through LGBTQ, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with it? It's normal, it's normal, it's normal. No, it's not normal. Well, listen, you guys shouldn't talk about politics and sex and religion, shouldn't be doing that. And then you see this one, you know, during COVID, one pastor, Australia, a Syrian man. I don't know what his name is, Vinny. What's his name? The Syrian pastor, priest from Australia. And he was fighting all the anti-COVID guidelines, and his stuff is going viral. He's doing this. And you've seen these messages. Some of the people that stood up, they stood up because they feared God, okay? And for you, with your life, it's been interesting watching you go through your evolution of your faith. Pre-2022, former atheist, couple of the things you've said in the past, God isn't real because you can't prove it. Okay, kind of like that was more the Malcolm X argument, right? Bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people far too often for God to exist. I'm the center of my universe. That's pre-2020. Then gradually you start talking about Christianity, and you know, in 2020 you made a video announcing that you were wrong about what you had said previously about God, right? Now you start saying people are who are atheists are angry, bad energy people, and I don't want to be on that team anymore. And even if God is not real, the world is a better place if people do believe in God. I know God is real because there's so much evil in the world that there has to be an equal and opposite force. The devil can't exist if God does not. And if you look at the world today, it is very obvious that the devil does not exist. And I'll go to the last one here with Muslim. Quotes from you. Christians don't have a religion anymore because they tolerate everything and stand for nothing. And by the way, I actually agree with you, the fact that they're tolerating way too much. Islam is the last religion on the planet. God is something to be feared, respected, and to prove yourself to, which means you got to earn his right. It's hey, I want to earn your right and your respect, right? How did you go, if you don't mind talking about your own evolution? Because us as men, if you knew me at 25 years old, you probably would have liked to party with me. I was a selfish guy. I was a guy you would have thought I was, right? And we go through this phase of where the selfishness kind of comes down a little bit. You still need to be selfish because you need to be driven, but to the point where you're like, listen, man, I got to really do something. And then somehow, some way, God enters. What's been your evolution of your faith, and where are you at today?
Yeah, I think Newton's, I think it's third law, equal and opposite force, what you just said there is absolutely true. There has to be an equal and opposite force to all the evil in the world. And that the equal and opposite force to all that evil has to be God. And I've talked about this at length even with atheists, and I try and say that regardless of whether you're an atheist or not, you're thinking of God as a man in the sky, but you need to think of God as a concept as a whole. And once you do that, it's impossible to accept that he doesn't exist, right? I said to the atheists, I said, let's say there was two islands. You're shipwrecked, right? And there's two islands. Both of them are full of savages. On one island, you and your friend are shipwrecked. On one island, your friend goes and he crashes and they kill him and they eat him. And you go to another island and they want to kill you and eat you, but they don't because it's against their religion. Did God save your life? Who cares? Who doesn't even know the name of their God? But their God said, don't kill shipwrecked survivors. And now you're alive. So their God saved your life. The concept of God in and of itself saved your life. You owe God just for the concept of it, the idea of it. So even the idea of opposing evil as a whole is a belief in God. So you're either an evil person or you believe in God in some regard. And then once I understood that there had to be an equal and opposite force, I was raised Christian. I live in a Christian nation. Romania is actually, I think, the second or third most Christian country on earth. It's a very Christian country here. It's churches everywhere. They strongly believe. And that's where I began my journey, but I always had a very healthy respect for Islam because I understand that to a degree, to have a religion at all, you have to have an intolerance, to a degree. Because without an intolerance, you don't have rules. You don't have laws. You don't have any, like you said, you have to earn God's respect. If you're a religion which is tolerant of everything, then you don't have to earn God's respect. You can be a bad person and do bad things. God loves me, so it's fine. Well, no, it's not, because that's not the point of the religion. So then you extrapolate that out, and I was sitting and thinking, well, what's the primary function of a religion? And the primary function of a religion, I don't believe is the religion exists so I can live forever. I mean, that's a nice thought. But I think on a macro level, the primary objective of a religion is to restore and contain some degree of traditional value within the society. How do you judge? Let me change the way I worded that. how do you judge the success of a religion? I don't think you can judge it by the number of people who join it, because there's lots of people who are Catholic who don't act Catholic. They don't act in any way particularly Christian. Anyone can say they're something. You can walk into a strip club and everyone says they're Christian. It doesn't mean anything, right? So how do you judge the success of a religion? Well, I like to think the best way to judge the success of a religion is how successful is it at fighting evil? How successful is it at preserving the morality of a population in X parameter, in X geographical area? So when you look at it from that way, you can't say that Islam isn't the most successful religion on earth. It's the most successful in regards to opposing evil. It's the most successful in regards to opposing its differing viewpoints. It's the most successful in regards to having people act within the limits and the confines of what it finds to be moral and good to God. It's the most adhered to. It's the most feared. It's the most respected in most forms. And then also I'd like to think...
I would say it's the most feared.
Yeah, it's the most feared. But what is respect without fear? Do we respect men we don't fear? If there's a man who could do absolutely nothing to you on any level at all, you might be nice to him, sure, because we're not bad people. But would you really respect him? If you could take his chick in front of his face, set his car on fire, and he wouldn't do a thing, you wouldn't respect him. You might be nice to him because we're not bullies, but you wouldn't respect him. Respect and fear are linked. They're not always the same thing, and you can maybe have fear without respect, but it's very hard to have respect without fear. And also, I heard someone say once that we see the world as we see ourselves. If you're a thief, you think everyone's a thief. If you're a liar, you think everyone's a liar. And I kind of agree with that. I understood that. I also like to think we see religion as we see ourselves. I like to see myself as a person whose respect you have to earn. I like to see myself as a person who has strong, rigid boundaries. I like to see myself as a person who will stand up and say, no, that's wrong. I like to see myself as a person who's not afraid of being shamed by whatever community for saying, I don't agree with that particular ideal. I like seeing myself that way. So if I'm going to see myself that way, then I'm going to naturally align with a religion that operates within that form. So when I say Islam is the last religion on earth, I say it because it seems to be the only one who will stand up and say, no, we don't care. No, that's not what the book says. No. I was raised Christian, and Muslims as a whole, we have no problems with Christians. None at all. I don't want anyone to think I'm anti-Christian and like I dislike Christians. We don't have a problem with Christians. We believe in a lot of the same things. We believe in Jesus. We put more respect on the name of Jesus than most Christians do. I just don't like the idea of people saying they're a Christian and saying, but because I'm a Christian, I can do whatever I want and throw all the rules away and none of it matters. Because once you have that level of tolerance, you no longer have a religion. Islam seems to be the last religion left with parameters. If you don't have parameters, you don't have a religion at all. So the closer I found myself to God, the closer I found myself to Islam. That's just how it ended.
And Andrew, speaking of fear, one could argue that Islam these days, certainly in the last 20 years with the war on terror, they've also been the most vilified.
Absolutely.
Right? So, you know, everything that we've seen happen with extremism and everything that's going on all over the world, how are you grappling with that? You've been a Christian for years now. Islam, everything.
And you know what? That's such an interesting question, because when I was younger, especially when I was an atheist, I would sit and think, people are really doing terror attacks and doing all this crazy stuff because, you know, they're upset over a cartoon. That's so stupid. And nobody should kill anybody. Nobody should kill anybody.
Charlie Hebdo, everything.
Nobody should kill anybody. Nobody should kill anybody. I'll make that very clear. But also part of me is now saying, why would you want to insult the prophet for billions of people? Why would you want to do that? I don't even want to make the argument against free speech. I'm not even saying you couldn't be allowed to. This is a sensitive subject. I'm just saying, what kind of person wakes up and thinks, I want to do that? I don't know. I just don't think that's a healthy mindset. Like when I see these Satanists, and they're, especially in America, and they're doing, let's keep it on Christianity, these Satanists, and they're dressing up Jesus as gay and all this stuff, like, that's not done in any kind of good faith. There's no good reason to do that. That's done with genuinely malicious intention. And what kind of people want to do that? And then the answer by extension is, I thought America was a Christian country. So how can you have a Christian country where the prophets of the religion are mocked to the highest possible levels within the confines of the country and it's promoted? Is that a Christian country? Doesn't seem like a Christian country to me. I don't think the same thing would happen with Islam in Saudi Arabia. I can't imagine that happening. So how can you say we're a Christian country, but everyone's mocking our God on the streets? Ha ha ha. It's on Netflix. Ha ha ha. That's not a Christian country to me. So if you're not a Christian country, then where's the religion? The religion's supposed to enforce certain boundaries. You're supposed to at least show it respect, you know? And it's also kind of interesting because in Christian countries, there's more respect for Islam than there is for Christianity. In a Christian country, name one. They still don't do it with the Islamic Prophet.
Why do you think that is?
It's too much smoke. It's just not worth the heat. Because people believe. And I'm not advocating for violence on any level. I'm saying that even these degenerates who are trying to destroy people's belief in God, like we've discussed earlier, because they don't want you to have any baseline morality. If you believe in God, there are commandments, yes and no. That baseline morality prevents you being an absolute slave. So they're trying to destroy it. But even those degenerates who are trying to mock and disgrace God, understand there's a point where it just backfires and, ooh, this is smoke. And they don't want the smoke. And shouldn't God be feared? I'm scared of God. It's the only thing I fear. I fear God. They can put me in jail. I know I'm telling the truth. God's on my side. I fear God. So God should be feared. So once again, does anybody fear the Christian God? I haven't seen anybody scared of him in a long time. And it's kind of crazy because it's very interesting. The mass migration and all these things are leftist policies, but then also Islam is the most right-wing religion on earth. It's kind of very interesting. I grew up in England, and I grew up in Luton, which is a town which is mainly Muslims. It's a huge Islamic community. And there was a bunch of English people who were complaining about there's too much immigration, we're losing our culture, and I understood their point absolutely. But these are the same people complaining about all the left-wing LGBT in schools and all these issues. And I was like, the only allies you have against this are the Muslims. They're the only allies you have in any of this. The Christians don't protest against any of this stuff. There's very few Christians who will get up off their ass and complain. In fact, I saw on Twitter yesterday, one of the churches was lit up in rainbow. I have nothing against gay people. I don't care. And that's actually another point I want to make into about this thing. I think most people don't care, and I think that bothers them. Have you ever had an argument with a girl, and she's like stropping around the house, she's huffing and puffing, and you just don't give a shit? So she has to keep upping the ante till you eventually go, what's the problem? Because she tried the low-level stuff, and you didn't care. I kind of feel like this has a remnants of that. I'm gay, cool. I want to get married. Fine. I want to wave my dick in your kid's face. Whoa, 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 whoa. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I feel like they tried to annoy us, and we're like, we don't give a shit. Do whatever you want. Be a person. We don't care.
Point.
And now they're like, okay, well, we have to get to a limit where they have to react. Yeah. We want attention now. We want them to care about
What's the right move on that?
Well, that's the point. You know, it's difficult because there comes a point where you simply have to address it, and now you have to oppose it. And this is sorry to interrupt you, but this is why they're so careful and so clever with what they do. They package it all together. LGBTQ. I would argue. I don't know what Q is. Firstly, sorry, I don't know what Q is.
Questioning.
Q. All right. I would argue that G and T are very different things.
Beyond.
A gay man and someone who's chopped their dick off are very different things.
Completely.
So they package it all together. So now, because the spectrum of your enemy is so large, you have people who are fully this way. Mm-hmm. You have people who we accept and are normal in society. We have no problem with gay people. And they put it all together. You're an enemy of all these people. And they complicate the argument and they mix it all together. And now you're a bigot. And really, you just want your kids to be left alone. Really, you just want to leave the children alone.
Of course.
So all you want to do is leave your kids alone. And then it's like, okay, I'm now raising children. I have more children than most people would believe. How do I protect my children from this insanity? God. Which God can protect my children? Allah, Islam. I'll move them to Dubai or Saudi Arabia, and none of this will happen. Can I trust a Christian nation? Some of them. Romania is a Christian nation, and to a large degree, they oppose quite a lot of this stuff. But they're also NATO, and they're also EU, and they also rely on bailouts and grants and money. And on a long enough time frame, even in the 7 years I've lived here, I have watched certain attitudes change because money buys influence and power.
So Andrew, not to cut you off, how much of you converting from Christianity to Islam is actually the belief in God versus the societal pressures that are facing children? Because it seems like it's a little bit of both.
For you to believe in God, you have to respect him. How can I believe and put my life in the hands of someone I don't respect? And I'm going to respect a God which is feared.
Yeah, but it's a vertical relationship, right? It's not a horizontal. If you base it horizontally, they're going to disappoint you. If you think about, if you're going to believe, let's go believe Prophet Muhammad, his teaching, and let's go believe the Bible, NIV, and Jesus, Father, for God so loved the world that he gave his, you gave your son for me. Let's say that's true, and you're doing it based on faith. Who would do such a thing for me?
Yeah.
What a level of sacrifice for you to do that. Who am I for you to be so worried about me? If you look at it from that angle, it's not necessarily coming from a place of fear. It's coming from a place of grace. It's coming from a place of love. It's coming from a place of,
absolutely,
a different feel. Because I do believe the part that upsets me is the fear aspect, that they're allowing others to mock your God, to mock Jesus, to mock whatever religion it is you're a part of, and you're kind of like, oh, they're just funny, man. No, it's not funny. You just crossed the line. Like JC has that one line where he says, don't tell me why what the guy said about me. Tell me why he was so comfortable saying it to you.
100%.
Tell me why he said comfortable to you. So I think that's the part about faith. I understand when you're saying the fear and the respect side. So that's the part where fear is needed. I totally agree.
Yeah.
But the part where you were making a point about LGBTQ, you're like, I don't even know what Q stands for, is questioning. And then you're like, well, gay, okay, cool. Yeah. Trans, listen, man, spectrum. And he said if we were to say which religion's the far right, it's going to be Muslim. Yeah. Totally get it. They're on the far right. Christian today is kind of going center left today. Like they're kind of being soft right now. Okay. So if I want to raise my kids, I'm going to take my kids to Dubai, and I'm going to take my kids to Saudi Arabia. Why? Because I'm defending against some of these immoral philosophies that they have. Yeah. I don't want to go there. I actually understand that argument.
Yeah, and I truly, and I want to make one more point, I do believe there is one God, and I believe there's many different paths to God. And I am not a religious scholar, and I'm not an expert on Islam. I'm doing my best, and I'm reading the Quran as often as I can. And it does say that Christians on the day of reckoning will see how close they were to the truth. And we are allies. We are not enemies in any regard, Christians and Muslims. And I do believe that the idea of Christians and Muslims shaking hands and saying, let's put an end to a lot of this garbage would be fantastic. I'm not anti-Christian in any regard. I just found myself, as I became more and more religious, seeking and looking for a faith which not only I could be proud of, but a faith which was guiding in regards to, I don't know what a Christian would answer to certain questions nowadays. What does a Christian answer to, I'm a transsexual and I want to show your kids my genitals? What's a Christian? Well, a Christian's supposed to say no, do they? I know what my Muslim friends would say. I don't know. If you're a Christian, I don't know how you're supposed to act. I don't know what you're supposed to adult. I don't get it anymore.
The true believer says
the true believer.
Yeah.
But how many are true believers? I don't know. I see all over Twitter, all these churches are losing their minds. It seems very complicated. Islam seems very, very simple.
Laudable efforts to restrict speech can become a tool to silence critics or oppress minorities. The strongest weapon against hateful speech is not repression, it is more speech. And that's the essence of my thesis, more speech.
Despite me trying to buy it and failing, Andrew, the guys that quintessentially have purchased the non-alcoholic gin, so you can have non-alcoholic gin and tonics. I'm actually super curious to try one my damn self, because there's no drinking till tonight anyway, once all the filming's done. Good to see you. How you doing?
Your security is tight.
Yeah. Good. I got lots of psychopaths.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I'm about to find out. Hey, you guys here with Patrick, yeah? Oh, the t-shirt says it all. Yeah, they're good, man. They're good. Tristan, nice to meet you. Tristan, nice to meet you. Please, come in, come in.
Thank you.
They're cool. If he was your own personal driver, I'd let him in, but I don't know him. Studio. This just leads you to a laundry utility room. Of course. So this is where the emergency meetings are filmed. So it's just me and Andrew sitting here.
Right. It's one of the most famous sets in the world. What are you talking about, underwhelming, man?
Yeah. So I'm going to have a 6-bedroom house underground here, which is very funny because now people are going to be like, is that where you keep the kidnapped victims? So I'm glad I don't have it right now. So I like an ugly gym because an ugly gym inspires me. So this is where I train every morning. And then, and all of this stuff here is actually emergency foods for my, I was running this personally up to the border of Ukraine. I did 7 trips up there to help the women and kids coming over. So, and then
Obviously gets no publicity.
They'll never talk about
oh no, zero publicity.
Oh,
Zero,
you'll never
zero.
get that.
Oh no,
Risking
zero
your life
publicity.
to help people. They'll
Yeah.
never talk about
Well,
What's funny is-
to be fair, I wasn't risking my life, but I said this in court. I was trying to make the point that, regardless of the politics of the situation, there were women and kids coming across to Romania, and the budgets of the local governments and the local villages up there are extremely low. So I had coats, shoes, women's clothing, children's clothing, all sorts of emergency foods. So me and the Rolls Royce, but it was my biggest car. I wasn't trying to flex on people. Me and the Rolls Royce and another van full of supplies did a bunch of trips up there. So that's where all this emergency food is.
People
is
forget
sitting here
that
from.
Romania is on the border of Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
It's about 7 hours from here though. It's very far.
Was he always funny? Were you guys always like pranksters and comedy and all that, or no?
You know what? A little bit, but we haven't honed our skills because we've had to call an end. About 6 years ago, we called an end to pranking each other at all or any jokes at all. Look, we're two dudes, about 100 kilos each. If I push him in the pool, then I now officially can't walk comfortably around my pool for the rest of my life. That's it. Pool time's over. I can't lay down in the sun, listen to an audiobook. I can't chill out. So we called a complete ban on pranking each other or fucking around in this house. Because otherwise we just I have to look over my shoulder enough, and so does he. He's the one, but I'm looking over his shoulder. I don't need to be looking over my own for him. I like when me and Andrew talk about racial issues because white people can't say, I was saying this on Twitter the other day, white people can't say, I want the next James Bond to be white. He's white. Ian Fleming wrote him as white in the books. I've read all 12 books. Who are you to fuck with Ian Fleming's work? He's a white guy. If a white person says that, immediately they're racist.
Yeah.
So I'm a James Bond fan. I've read all the books. I
love what you said.
So Andrew talking about black people are this and white people are this, it's important because they can't point the finger at him.
I love what you said about
You got to pay for your sins as well. I drink and Andrew doesn't, but I will never ever be hungover and miss training the next day. That's how you end up letting drinking get the, I don't know. Anyway, it will destroy you if you don't fucking burn the calories off and pay for it the next day. You got to stay strong.
Let me tell you, Tristan, the way he described you today was something else.
Finally talking nice about me, Andrew. I haven't said a nice word to my face in 34 years, motherfucker. I have no idea.
I told him your superpower. My superpower is giving a shitload, and your superpower is not caring at all.
Yeah. There are better places also. Hillcrest is really nice.
There's a better place than there.
Yeah, there are.
I should have given you a list.
Well, we wouldn't mind going to a good place.
We haven't lived here for 7 years because it's shit. It's actually very, very nice. If I could take you out, you'd want to move to Romania.
When's the last time you told Andrew no? Meaning, hey, I have an idea. Here's what I want to do. I'm the hardest working man in the world. Here's what I'm doing. I have an agenda. And you go, no, bad idea. Let's do this instead. Do you ever tell him no? How does this work in this relationship?
I guess the answer to your question would be, tell Andrew no why. You know, we're two men with the exact same vision, aiming for the exact same goal. It's that old saying, with great power comes great responsibility. So telling Andrew no, you have to understand, I'm the only person in the world who can tell him no. Ever since Dad died, it's me, and that's it. So I'm not going to use that power over something trivial, over something that is a recommendation. If I don't think he should do something, I just know when he really, really shouldn't do something. And then I'll say no, but I literally can't think of an example. I can't. No, I can't think of an example where I've told Andrew no in the last couple of years.
That's the dynamic of the relationship between the two of you guys.
Indeed, but he's also the only person who can tell me no. And he doesn't really tell me no for anything. You know, I'm still a 34-year-old man, little brother or not. He's 36. I can make my own decisions. And none of us have the tendency to ever do anything that's really stupid. So...
At the peak, who was funner to party with?
Oh, I've always been the funnest to party with. Really? I'm still the fun one to party with today. No, don't worry about the peak. I haven't reached my peak yet. I'm still working on it. Yeah. I'm the one, Andrew, I'm the kind of guy, I definitely take the party a bit too far. I'll give you an example. Go out to the club, there's 5 guys, 15 girls. We're all having fun, we're all partying, etc. We'll come home, Andrew will be like, okay, well, this is the girl I'm with, I'm gonna go to bed. It's 3 a.m. I know I could go to bed with one of these women at any one time. Back in my party days, I've calmed down a bit on the womanizing, I really have. And he'll be in bed at 3. I'll still stay up till 6, drinking with the guys. Because I think, let me squeeze the maximum amount of fun out of this night as possible. So obviously it gets ruined when it gets to 6 o'clock and the girl I like is now asleep or home. And it's like, oh, wait, well, I definitely messed that one up. But I'll certainly try to have as much fun as possible. And it comes back to bite me sometimes. But
When's the last time you partied? You've been in jail. You haven't had one day of freedom this year.
No.
Right? You guys are known as these kickboxing, badass, womanizing party guys, but Andrew's been very subdued. He's converted to Islam. He's not drinking.
No, he doesn't drink anymore.
When's
He's
the last
completely
time
quit.
that you had a fun night out on the town?
A fun night out on the town, I don't know. But I had a fun night right here in my house when my camera guy showed up. I'm going to say his name. His name's Bailey. I'm going to say it. I don't care if he wants to. He can censor out. Don't give him editorial control. So he got here. I thought, you know what? Bailey's here. That's something new. I've been locked in jail now. I'm on house arrest. Let's open a bottle of champagne. Don't worry, Bailey. Just one. 4 bottles of champagne later. And Bailey's like wishing for death. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll let him go to sleep. But we stayed up all night talking politics, history, very, very interesting things, along with my coach, my physiotherapist, Alex, who hates drinking, by the way, but he'll partake sometimes. And, it was just 3 guys together talking about, I feel like it's the way things should be, and the way things certainly were before mobile phones. Nowadays, everyone's too connected digitally. They speak to each other online too much. Everyone WhatsApps each other, checks on their friends that way. I like sitting around with my friends and just drinking and talking and having a good time and learning new things from them and telling them new things that they don't know. I find that to be incredibly fulfilling.
So
you were saying interests. You said cutters. You collect cutters and all this stuff.
I collect cigar lighters and cigar accessories. I'm a nerd about my cigars. I'm a real nerd about it. I tried my first cigar when I was 28. And now that I smoke a lot of cigars, people will accuse me of saying, oh, well, you try to teach values, but you encourage smoking. I don't encourage smoking. These are bad for you. But if you do them, train really hard in the gym, get as fit and strong as possible, at least try to compensate the damage. But yeah, I'm a nerd about my cigars. I smoked my first one when I was 28. I had a car crash, which stopped me from professionally fighting. I had some surgery just a year and a half ago to fix all that damage finally. But I thought, I can't fight anymore. I've always thought cigars looked cool. I'd never smoked a cigarette or any kind of tobacco product up until that point. And I walked into the cigar lounge. I thought, oh, yeah, this big Cuban cigar. Let me buy one of these. I had some money even back then when I was 28. And I got this cigar. Got about halfway through and my head was spinning. I don't know how I drove home. I felt horrible. But yeah, now I smoke 2-3 cigars a day sometimes. Some days I'll go without smoking. But the accessories are what make it cool. Even here on the table. These have been here since your podcast with Andrew. But it's the lighters I like, the cutters I like. I'm a real nerd about it. Before going out, I'll pack my cigar cases, etc., ready for the club. Yeah.
What's your preference? Like, what do you go to? What's your go-to cigar?
Cigar? My favorite cigar is actually... So you have to liken them to champagne because most people won't know what we're talking about if we do cigars. So I'm going to make it more interesting. People who don't know champagne will say, yeah, give me some Dom Perignon. Every single time. I don't even like champagne. I don't like any champagne. But there are old Frenchmen who know that there's a Veuve Clicquot bottle that's better than the Dom Perignon if it's the right year, etc. So with cigars, everyone goes Cohiba. When you can buy Cubans when you're outside the United States, Cohiba is the Dom Perignon of cigars. It's got the yellow label. Everyone likes Cohibas. But this is not my favorite brand of cigar. But my favorite is H. Upmann. Now, they have a European name, even though they're Cuban, because a German businessman started that company in 1848. Cohiba was founded in 1966. It has much more history behind the brand, a much better quality cigar in terms of build and flavor, and they're about half the price. But me smoking H. Upmann's is not a budgetary decision. I mean, I'll buy cigars from the 1950s and smoke $6,000, $7,000 cigars just because I enjoy them. But H. Upmann are by far the best brand, hands down.
Can I give a quick shout out real quick?
Sure.
I only smoke cigars with 2 people. Their last name is either Tate or Sapala.
Okay.
So shout out to Matt Sapala, by the way. If you're watching this, you're going to love this. Yeah. The finest of gentlemen, the Tates and the Sapala. That's it. That's a quick shout out. I very rarely smoke cigars, but if I do, it's with the Tate or
actually,
Sapala.
Matt Sapala did a Minect call with Andrew
right?
last time, I think, using Minect,
Yeah.
and had a good conversation together. So going back to you, spiritually, Tate comes out, Andrew comes out recently announcing he's a Muslim, right? But in the podcast with us, he said, you're still a Christian. What is that conversation like between the two of you?
Well, you have to understand, if you are a fan of Andrew who watches him on the internet, he's converted to Islam, that's sudden. It wasn't sudden. It was a journey that I saw him go on, which certainly lasted at least 10, 11 months up into the day he reverted, according to Muslims. So I'll use the proper terminology. Up until the day he reverted, I became a Christian about 6 years ago. I spent a lot of my life as an atheist, and I'm so ashamed to say that. I don't like the word. I think it's a bad word nowadays, because I was young and naive and stupid enough to think that people could be perfectly moral and live in a perfect, harmonious society without the need for religion. And about 6 or 7 years ago, I looked around the world, literally, at what people were doing. The massive fetishization, I'll call it, of abortion, the degeneracy in society, and everyone's an atheist. I thought, are these my people? And I was living in Romania, the most Orthodox Christian country in the world. My daughter's maternal grandfather is actually an Orthodox Christian priest. And I picked up the Bible again, and I read it from cover to cover, front to back. And that was 6 years ago when I became a Christian. Now, ever since Andrew's reversion, I have not spoken about my religious beliefs, because there are teams on Twitter. So you guys get the exclusive. There are literally warring tribes on Twitter of Christian trolls, let's call them, and Muslim trolls, all fighting for my soul. Tristan, what do you believe in? Tristan, and I haven't mentioned my religion ever since Andrew's aversion to Islam. So there are people who think I'm a Muslim. There are people who know I'm a Christian. But for me, the values that are shared between the two faiths are both contrary to everything what Andrew would call the Matrix is trying to shove down young people's throats and trying to program people to believe. I think the days of Christians and Muslims murdering each other in crusades and trying to take the holy city of Jerusalem, etc., are over. I think that there are ideological differences, and there are ignorant Christians who will be like, oh yeah, but Islam's a fake religion. But then there are ignorant Muslims who will say, oh, Christianity's a fake religion. Good, you're supposed to think that. They're different religions, and they do teach different things. They have different messengers, and they have slightly different messages. But as a whole, I'm perfectly happy living in a house when my brother is a Muslim, because 1, I respect his decision. 2, I understand why he reverted. 3, I understand that we have a common enemy we have an enemy in common, and we have the exact same goals. I feel like the religions now should be closer than ever before. It's fine to say, you believe things about God that I don't, and I believe things about God that you don't. But can we at least agree that this is wrong? And I feel like common ground would unite Christians and Muslims hand in hand if people were less standoffish. So I have no problem with my brother being a Muslim. He's quit drinking. I have lost my drinking partner. And the only reason I'm actually talking to you about religion and answering these questions, because I kept it very close to my heart and I haven't spoken to anybody about it, is because I am publicly drinking whiskey.
Well, if you need a new drinking partner, Tristan, I can help you out here.
Absolutely.
So
and you're Jewish?
Yes,
there we
most
go.
of the time.
Muslims refer to Christians and Jews as people of the book. And you have to understand that Muslims hold Christians in very high regard. So I've read, even since getting out of jail, I've read 4 books on Islam since getting out of jail. And I was actually quizzed by a Muslim scholar who lives in the United Arab Emirates. He said, Tristan, are you ever going to revert to Islam? And I said to him, reversion or conversion to any religion, I don't believe it's something that you do. I believe it's something that happens to you. If you look into a subject and you read the Bible, and you read about Christianity, and you read about the life of Jesus Christ, you don't think, you know what, yes, screw it, I'm a Christian. I feel like it's something that would have to happen to me, not something I'd choose to do. And I've even had people say, oh, your life would be better if you reverted to Islam because, there'd be benefits of you living in the Middle East, etc. And I said, no. How disingenuous would that be to my Muslim friends and colleagues, of which I have many, to revert for any beneficial reason other than me genuinely feeling it within my soul? So that's the reason I haven't. Not because I haven't chosen to, but because it hasn't happened to me.
Right. So that means it could happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
You said so interesting. You just said something earlier, real brief. You tweeted out. You said positive pregnancy test ?
Yes.
Unsure what to do. This is the sign you were looking for. Keep the baby.
Yes.
Raise the baby. By the time they are 2, you will thank God you read this and shudder that you ever considered an abortion. I understand you have a choice, but make the right one.
Yes, I did tweet that. Because I understand that there is now a chance, with 1.8 million people following me on Twitter and 500, 600, 700,000 people watching each of my tweets, that I may have just saved a life. I wasn't trying to make any point about the legality of abortion. because everyone's arguing underneath the tweet, oh, it should be legal, it should be illegal, I will actually upset both teams because I'm not pro-life or pro-choice. I believe that abortion should be legal under many circumstances, and there are many reasons why there are people in the world who for many reasons would need an abortion. What I do is I don't try to force my views on anyone else. So my view on abortion is very simple. I'm against abortion for me. I've made lots of money. I'm a smart guy. I'm a great dad. If I get some girl pregnant, even if it's by accident, it was my choice to sleep with her, and I'm going to make sure she brings that baby into the world and take care of it for the rest of its life. So I'm against it for me. I don't try to force my views on other people, because otherwise we're going to start this whole debate. It's going to happen in the comment section of this video. Oh, but what if a woman gets raped? I'm against abortion being used as a form of contraception. So I'm on neither team. So both teams can get mad at me, and I don't really care. But yeah, I just thought with so many followers, maybe I'm going to get a letter in the mail in 17 years' time from somebody whose mother's going to tell them the story of the time she read Tristan Tate's tweet, and I thought that would be awesome.
Wow.
So that was my motivation. I wasn't trying to start a political argument, because I really don't care enough about these issues to debate people on them, because I know how I want to live my life. And if you're a crack addict on the streets of New York and you end up pregnant through sex work, I do believe there is a case where you personally don't need to be bringing a baby into the world. So I'm not going to tell you it's illegal. So I'm in the middle. So everyone can be mad at me. Everyone can hate me.
Do you like debate?
Oh, I love debates.
Do you like it as much as he likes debates?
Oh, I love debates.
Okay, so you love debates.
Oh, I love debates.
Okay, so politically, you know, when you think about, like, are you following politics closely? Do you watch the election? Do you follow the election closely?
I do, yes.
What do you think about the elections in the U.S. right now? And the conditions in U.S. politically?
Jesus, I feel like both teams have psychos that they need to pander to the point where the whole process has become absolutely ridiculous. I feel like the right have fewer psychos who are less extreme that they have to pander to than the left. But you take people who say very normal things, and again, this is going to get me in trouble, like men can't get pregnant. And people who've been alive since the 1950s, since the 1960s, people who know that's not true, now have to pretend that they think it is true. And I'm like, I'm not going to go into what you think about foreign policy. I'm not going to go into what you think about the issues America's facing, because you just said men can get pregnant. So you're an idiot. And I feel like the pandering to all these special groups, whether it be the military-industrial complex, let's not go down that road, or the insane, I won't say the LGBTQ insane people, I'll say the QT plus people, because I think LGB and QT plus should be completely separate things. Yeah, it's very hard to take any American politician seriously. I do know who I want to be the next president of the United States. You probably know who I want to be the next president of the United States.
Joe Biden guy we talked about.
Oh, yeah. No.
Do you consider? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, the audience doesn't know this. When you walk in here, there's a, is it 6 feet or 8 feet, painting of President Joe Biden. I was so impressed the fact that you guys have that kind of pride for U.S. in the house.
But it was him
Very
falling
impressive.
down.
Well, I'm not very good at darts, so I need a big board. So,
Would you say you were born in America,
I was born in the United States.
raised in
England.
UK?
I'm English.
You would consider yourself English?
I would consider myself English, British. I'm proud to be English. I love English history. As a mixed race person, I like to be able to stand up and say I'm very proud of British history and we should all be proud of our heritage, without people being able to point the finger at me and call me a racist, because when white English people say that, suddenly they're racist for some reason. Yeah, super proud to be British. I think that the influence that the British have had on the world is incalculably larger than almost any other culture. Please correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of the great inventions in the world were British. The way that you go to every single country in the world and they're all speaking the language of one tiny island in Northern Europe. Why? You know, I'm a proud Englishman, and I don't care about the United States so much because I left when I was 8 years old. How interested can I be? As much as I'm interested in the nerdy way that I'll follow it and know what each team has to think, if I've never worked a job in America, I've never had a girlfriend in America, I'm not educated by the American school system, I don't have a business in the United States.
You've never had an American girlfriend?
Oh no, I've had loads, but I've never had to manage a relationship while living in the United States.
Yeah.
So what do I really have invested in who wins the election. You know, as much as I'm interested in it, I consider myself British and I care much more about England, which is a lot more fucked up than the United States in lots of ways. It's failing in every single metric, which makes me sad.
Would you say you follow British politics even more than American politics?
No, I fear American politics because it's more interesting. The British politicians are all rubbish. And because of the electoral system where the Prime Minister comes from the party who has the most seats, and each seat is an individual election with the first past the post system, there's no winners. Nobody can come along as a hero. Let's say hypothetically, because I don't want to say who I support for president, but let's say hypothetically, some billionaire businessman with charisma came along and said, I want to become the leader of England. He's got no chance. He'd have to start his own political party. He'd lose in every single individual election in every single constituency in the United Kingdom. And you'd never hear from him again. I think it was in I don't want to say the exact date because someone's going to correct me on it, but it was in the 1970s, the Green Party of England won 20-something% of the vote and got 0 seats in the House of Parliament. That's the way the system works there. So no hero is coming along to save the UK, which is sad because I feel like both political parties that could possibly win and both their leaders are equally horrible.
What you're saying is only in America.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that something like that possible?
Yeah, exactly. In England, you got 2 dead horses and the race is about to start. Why watch? I'm not interested, you know? And nobody else is either.
I actually have another question for you.
Go ahead.
We all have our nicknames, right?
Yeah.
PBD, right? Sauce. Your brother is Cobra Tate. You are the talisman.
Yeah.
Okay. I actually had to Google what the talisman was,
Yeah.
right? So it is an object that has magic power and brings good luck.
Yeah.
Right? And keeps evil away and protects the person wearing it from illness, accident, disgrace, and misfortune.
Absolutely.
Right? So how did you get the name the talisman? And are you Andrew's talisman?
I absolutely am. But it wasn't Andrew who gave me the nickname. I was 17 years old and I was working at a sandwich shop. And I used to hang around with this African guy from the Ivory Coast Republic. Luke, if you're watching, God bless you. I don't know where you are today. And we'd go out to various bars. And we would, anytime he'd see attractive women, because I mean, I'm 17. What do you know? You know, of course I'm out there trying to be women. And every time there was a group of attractive women, I'd go over and approach them. And how smooth can a 17-year-old be? But, you know, girls tended to like me. And he called me his talisman. You know, I don't know if it was his lack of English that made him use the word talisman instead of good luck charm. But he would always call me his talisman, and it was the talisman. And that stuck. And then I needed a fight name, and it was Tristan the Talisman Tate. And I feel like if you are my friend, if I truly care about you, whether you are pursuing a new goal in business, whether you are attacked on the street, having me by your side I'm a good person to have by your side. And I've proven that hundreds of times to every single person who I hold dear. So I like that name because it suits who I am. You know, I say that in every single photo, if you see me and Andrew together, I'm always walking behind him. And believe me, I'll hit someone faster than the bodyguards with us will. I'm that guy. So I like the nickname, and I think it suits me very well.
So you're Andrew's talisman.
Yeah. Well, then how would you be worse off? Anything you want to do in life, how would you be worse off if I was fully invested in the idea that you had, and I was on your side, 100%? I'll
sign you up right now.
How would I make
Tristan,
you worse
you're
off?
in.
So I feel like that I'm a very well-rounded person, and it's not just for Andrew, it's for anybody I choose to associate with, or anybody I choose to do business with. So, or protect, or, you know, certainly 5 years ago when I was a bit more wild, if you wanted to go out womanizing, I'm pretty good at that too. So I'd bring you some luck in that department.
Sign right here. So.
Yeah. No, retire from that. If you want a guaranteed way to get in touch with me, maybe you have a business idea, maybe you want some fashion tips, maybe you just want to connect, you could find me on Minect.